purpose of S Squared is about us becoming more like Jesus, serving because we love, not because we're hoping to get something back from it. This is not about trying to get more people to come to Heritage, although that may happen. It is to show people in our community what Jesus is really about, love and service with no strings attached. You see, understand that selfless service is one of the most evangelistic things we can do. It breaks the stereotype people have about the church and Christianity. This is about the kingdom, not just Heritage Christian Church. And if another church family in a part of town that is closer to some of the folks we serve ends up benefiting more than Heritage does, well then praise God. It's His church. We're just His co-workers, servants, and friends working with Him to fill His house for the great banquet that's coming. Now, for this to become a permanent part of our fellowship, it needs to be introduced through the life group structure, because built right into that is an infrastructure to keep it going. Our focus will be to continue to pour into our life group leaders, encouraging them, equipping them, and holding them accountable, and continuing to show those outside our church family what Jesus is really like. You see, in glorifying God in this way, we will be making true disciples of Jesus, people who honor others above themselves.
Doug mentioned the fact that S Squared is more about being like Jesus. What S Squared is simple service. We wanted to organize an event that would allow someone who's never served before the ease of serving. And we've done that by assembling a fantastic team. And I just want to say that I've been humbled and honored to work with this team of volunteers that have redefined simple service. The core S Squared team has met numerous times over the past few months to brainstorm, plan, and detail the structure to S Squared. We want this to truly be a simple thing for our people to participate in. We feel we've accomplished this goal as we have defined each project and been able to condense each project into one-page document for our leaders to follow. While the entire team has stepped up in every aspect of planning, the biggest area we had to concentrate on were the projects themselves. In working with these local organizations, God grabbed our hearts and took us on a ride that we never imagined riding when we originally talked with Doug about S Squared. Penny Van Arsdale has been a catalyst in organizing and detailing the S Squared projects, and I'd like for you to hear her story about this.
Thanks, Mike. The one thing that has been evident through the planning phase of S Squared for me is that God is really getting ready to work through His people. And I may not have felt that way since the beginning. Actually, when I first started making the calls, I was really frustrated. I just wasn't getting the right people, and the people weren't returning my emails, and I know the volunteers that were working on this project in the planning phase, they felt the same way. So throughout all of that, I finally just kept hearing this voice in the back of my head, and it just kept telling me, would you just stop? And finally I realized that it was God's voice, and He was telling me, just stop and stop being such a control freak and just let me work. So finally I was able to do that, and He did. We had 100 projects and more still coming in, and it is just amazing to me what can happen when you just sit back and stop and let God work. And throughout this process, I have been able to meet some wonderful people, and I had no idea that we had this many needs just right in our own backyard.
We want you to be a part of S Squared that runs October 3rd through November 21st. You do not have to be in a life group to participate in S Squared. Service groups will be formed with people from life groups and are open for anyone to join in. If you are not already in a life group, we encourage you to consider joining one. Call or email me and we will get you plugged into a life group this week. Thank you in advance for your support and your participation in S Squared, and thank you for allowing us to serve you to the community.